Hey brothers and sisters, Francis Santa Rose here, bringing a word today. This is the third time I've tried to do it. Every time I try and record, somebody will text me or call me, and it knocks the system off, and I'm kind of frustrated right now. So if I seem a little irritated, it's because I'm irritated. Yeah, Satan's trying to get under my skin today. So we'll see how this goes. I've got one saved in the can. I may just post it and blow this off altogether. So we've been doing the live streams, and I'm actually enjoying those. They're kind of fun, but I can't teach when I'm doing them. I've tried twice and just totally can't do it. Sorry I didn't do the cooking video last night, but just as I went out to start cooking, my daughter came out and said, "Please take me to dinner. I will buy if you take me. I just want to go." She wanted to get a burger. So we went to her favorite place, which I don't eat fast food. I won't eat the fast food joint. It's like a gourmet burger joint with actual real meat. So let me see. Well, let's just get started. Now, everybody's familiar with Psalm 23, right? Well, there's an interesting psalm before 23, which is Psalm 22. It's very obscure, and it's all about Jesus on the cross. And I tend to read this and Isaiah 53 from time to time to remind me of what Jesus did on the cross. But today I saw something interesting that I hadn't really seen before. And it's a little battle that's going on within Jesus between his carnal mind and his spiritual mind. Now, Jesus was created in the image of man. I mean, he was created as a human, so he has a carnal mind and he has a spiritual mind, and there's kind of a little conflict going on here about the two that I never noticed before I did this today. We're going to start first like this. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So he starts off in his carnal mind right now. He's up on the cross, he's dying on the cross, and this is what's coming out of his mouth first. Now, because we know that was spoken by him. He said that on the cross, all right? And a lot of this probably are his thoughts, stuff that he's thinking. But he says, "Why are you so far from helping me and from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but you do not hear, and in the night season, and am not silent." So there's his carnal mind. All right? Now those are the thoughts that we either do on our own, or Satan places in there. He's got something posted there, spewing it to us. And then what we do with these thoughts really determines what's going to happen with us. We can either entertain them and dwell on them and watch them manifest and affect us, or we do what Jesus does here, and he counters it. He counters it, and he says, "But you are holy, enthroned in the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you delivered them." See, he's encouraging himself. I did that story the other day about David, where he went off and got in a fight that he wasn't supposed to get in, and then his village was raided by a nearby enemy, and they stole his wife and his children and all their possessions and everything. When they come back from their battle, they found their entire town burned up and all their women and their children and all their possessions taken, and they wanted to kill David. And the Bible says David went off and he encouraged himself. And when he did that, when he was completed doing that, he came back to his men who wanted to kill him and said, "Hey, let's go get him. We'll overtake him. We'll get all." And he riled them up, but he encouraged himself. And see, Jesus is doing the very same thing. He's encouraging himself. He's up on the cross. His carnal mind is speaking to him, saying, "Where's your God? Where's your God? You've been forsaken. You cry day and night, and there's no one here to help you." All right? And then he counters with, "Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you delivered them. They cried to you and were delivered. They trusted in you and were not ashamed." And then, boom, he flips back. His carnal mind flips on again. "But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised by the people. All those who see me ridicule me." And these are all things that were going on at the foot of the cross. He's watching this happen. All right? This is all recorded in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They shoot out their lip, they shake their head, saying, "He trusted in the Lord. Let him rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him." And then, boom, he flips back to his spiritual mind. Now he starts countering what he's seeing, what he's watching take place. He counters it with his spiritual mind. And he says, but you are he who took me out of the womb. You made me trust while on my mother's breast. I was cast upon you from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. There's no human here that can help me. There's nothing in the natural that can save me from this, so I'm trusting in you. So again, carnal mind countered by a spiritual mind. Carnal mind and what he's watching happen, what he's witnessing, countered by his spiritual mind. Another text. All right. So then he goes back to his carnal mind. Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They gape at me with their mouths. And again, he's watching this happen in front of him. Like a raging and roaring lion, I am poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. And if y'all don't know anything about crucifixion, its design is to do that. The shoulders will dislocate, the elbows and the wrists will dislocate because they're hanging there. And, you know, at first they're using their legs. They've got their legs in that bent position and they're pushing off that stump and they can hold themselves up. Why? Because what happens is when they begin to fall down, their lungs begin to fill with blood and they can't breathe. They suffocate. So they push themselves up, which takes the pressure off their shoulder and their arm, so they're not just hanging by their arms. But your legs will start to burn after a while. Doing like a half squat, after just, you know, a couple of minutes, you can't hold yourself up anymore. Also, that's why they would go around and break their legs, so they couldn't push up and they would suffocate to death. So he says, all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and that's like clay, like dried clay. And my tongue clings to my jaws, or the roof of my mouth. For dogs have surrounded me. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet, proving that this is the cross, that this is prophecy of the cross. Incidentally, David prophesies the cross 500 years before the Romans even invented crucifixion. At the time that David is writing this, crucifixion hasn't even been invented, and he's describing exactly how crucifixion works, which is another testament to all the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, not just in Isaiah 53, but in Psalm 22. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among them, again proven as prophecy, and for my clothing they cast lots, prophecy. So that again is he's witnessing this, and his carnal mind is messing with him now. Satan's probably having a field day with him right here. He's got demons posted on each shoulder, just rah, 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 rah. But this is what he does. His spiritual mind takes over. He says, but you, O Lord, do not be far from me. O my strength, hasten to help me. Deliver me from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth and from the horns of the wild oxen. You have answered me. I will declare your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly, I will praise you. And he goes on there, and he actually transfers from there into a different subject. But I just wanted to go over that. That's really a cool section about Isaiah. About Jesus on the cross. Now, there is debate about this next one. I'm going to put it out there. Am I saying that I believe this? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. The Lord hasn't really spoken to me about it yet. But Psalm 88 is another obscure psalm. Psalm 22, Psalm 88. It's interesting that they're both double letters. Don't know if that means anything. But E.W. Kenyon wrote a book called From the Cross to the Throne that I read that I thought was really, really interesting. And it's his opinion that Psalm 88 is about Jesus when he has died, when he has given up his spirit and he is taken into hell. You know, the Bible says that he experienced everything that we've experienced. All right, that man will experience. Well, if man goes to hell and is tortured in the pit, his philosophy was, just as we are tempted, he was tempted. Just as, you know, everything that we were supposed to experience, Jesus suffered on the cross, all right? And it's his opinion, and I'm not sure that I believe it, though. I'm just going to put it out there. Y'all can read it and form your own opinion, pray about it, and share it with me if the Lord gives you something. Because I haven't heard a direct word on it, but that it was his opinion that Jesus, when he got to hell, there was a period of time. Remember, he was there for 3 days. There was a period of time where he was tortured like the people in hell are tortured, and then the Spirit of God came or rose up in him, and then he conquered hell in the grave, and he took back the keys, and he made an open show of Satan. Do I believe this? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But let's read it and see how it goes. He says, O Lord, God of my salvation, I have cried out day and night before you. Let my prayer come before you. Incline your ear to my cry, for my soul is full of troubles, and my life draws near to the grave, or to the pit. And that is, we'll go on. I am counted with those who go down to the pit. So that he's talking about hell, not just a hole in the ground, but to Sheol, to Hades. I am like a man who has no strength. And in hell, it's said that you have no strength. There's no power. There's no way you can escape from that. It's not like you can just pull yourself up out of the pit and walk out of there. You have nothing. Adrift among the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, and who are cut off from your hand. So again, he's talking about hell here. You have laid me in the lowest pit. So if this isn't Jesus, who is this? Who's talking here? This is a psalm, and one of the reasons that I'm likely to lean in the direction that this may be written from Jesus' point of view for a period of time, albeit maybe brief, but for a period of time, for him to experience everything that man would experience. It makes sense that he would experience everything, even this, albeit maybe just for a short time. But also, if it's not him, there's no record of well, maybe there are, because there's testimony of people who die and go to hell and are tortured and then come back to life. So that is possible, that one of these was like a prophet writing from that point of view. That's possible as well. So let's just keep reading and see. He says, you have laid me in the lowest pit, in darkness, in the depth. Your wrath lies heavy upon me, and you have afflicted me with all your waves. You have put away my acquaintances far from me. You have made me an abomination to them. I am shut up, and I cannot get out. My eye wastes away because of affliction. Lord, I have called daily upon you. I've stretched out my hands to you. Will you work wonders for the dead? Shall the dead rise and praise you? Shall your loving kindness be declared in the grave, or your faithfulness in the place of destruction? Shall your wonders be known in the dark, and your righteousness in the land of forgetfulness? But to you I have cried out, O Lord, and in the morning my prayer comes before you. Lord, why do you cast off my soul? Why do you hide your face from me? I have been afflicted and ready to die from my youth. And that one right there, that one kind of indicates that it's Jesus. Because from his youth, he was the sin offering. He knew he was going to be the sin offering. He was born for that. I suffer your terrors. I am distraught. Your fierce wrath has gone over me. Your terrors have cut me off. They came around me all day long like water. They engulfed me altogether. Loved one and friend you have put far from me, and my acquaintances into darkness. So, is that Jesus in hell for a time being? I don't know. I never really got a clear word on that. That one verse indicates that it was probably written from his point of view before the power of God brought him, took him, and raised him up. But I've never heard a clear word on that. From there, we're going to go into Isaiah 53, and he says, who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. So Jesus was not a beautiful man. He was not handsome, as a lot of the pictures portray him. He was probably really rather average, because God didn't want people to be attracted to him for his appearance, but because of what he was saying and what he was doing and who he was, not what he looked like. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs, and griefs are weaknesses, and carried our sorrows, and those are like burdens, heavy burdens. And we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. And what he's implying there is that we thought, the people there thought it was his sins that he was being punished for, not their sins. So they didn't really, obviously, they didn't understand. But he was wounded for our transgressions. And, there's a lot of words that describe transgressions. One of the words that describes it is rebellion, our rebellion. He was bruised for our iniquities, our guilt. All right. And a bruise, you got to understand, guilt is, it's on the inside. A lot of sin is on the outside, but guilt and transgressions and iniquities are on the inside. They're inside the heart. And that's the bruise is the shedding of blood underneath the skin or on the inside. So God always had a way of shedding blood to pay for something. The thorns on his head paid for all mental diseases and mental disorders and anything that has to do with your mind. The stripes on his back paid for all the diseases in the world. Anything that comes against us comes at us from the outside. The shedding of the blood from the inside, the bruises paid for all of our iniquity, everything that the sin that's coming out of us. So God paid for all of it with the shedding of blood in one form or another. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. And what he's saying here is he was punished so we could have peace. So that we didn't walk around in condemnation, because we sin so much that if we took sin literally and to heart, that it would weigh us down so heavy we'd be walking around constantly in condemnation. But because Jesus took this punishment, we could actually walk around in peace, knowing that it's the grace that covers us. So we're not supposed to dwell on it, and it doesn't weigh heavy on us. Otherwise, we probably couldn't get through the day. If we tried to weigh out all of our sin, it would be so heavy we wouldn't be able to function. We'd be a walking mess. All right. And by his stripes we are healed. Now that's a present tense term. By the stripes of Jesus we are healed. The healing, is God going to heal somebody? No. Why? Because he already healed them 2,000 years ago on the cross. By his stripes we are healed. Isaiah is saying this actually more than 2,000 years ago, because this is way before that. It was like, 3,000 years ago. How long was Isaiah before Jesus? All right. He's prophesying ahead. So 2,000 years ago on the cross, the provision was made for our healing, but we have to acquiesce that. It'd be like if somebody put $1 million in a bank for you, that's fine and dandy, but you got to go and get that money out. It's there for you, but you got to go get it. All right. It's the same thing. When Peter writes, he says, by his stripes we were healed. So he's pointing back at the cross as the past tense. It's already been done. If it's already been done, then we got to go get that thing that's already been taken care of for us. All right. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has laid on Jesus the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers, he is silent. So he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who will declare his generation? And the inference there is they didn't care that he died without descendants. Jesus didn't have children. So, and that's a big thing to Jews. When somebody dies, what happens to the descendants? What happens to his name? People, they would actually take care of the offspring and help raise them. For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people he was stricken, and they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, because he had no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him, as he put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge my righteous servant shall justify many, and he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and he made intercession for the transgressors. And we're going to finish it right there. Isaiah 54 is another fabulous study, but it goes into something a little bit different. And so that's the lesson for today. Hold on one second. So, just a short testimony story, whatever. This is way back at a time when I was doing the construction or build out of one of my first locations where I was expanding into, and it was a disaster. We caught the contractor stealing all the money. Basically, it would have ruined me. I should have been out of business. All these things were going to potentially happen to me when the moment I figured out what it was, I got the phone call from somebody telling me, yeah, it's over, you're finished, all the money was stolen, there's nothing left. They hadn't even done anything in the construction end of it. There was $1,500 of materials in there, and he fled the job with all, with everything. He cleaned out the bank account and took off. And so I hang the phone up, and the phone rings, and it was my pastor, Jim Scalise. Only at that time he wasn't my pastor yet. He was just a guy that I knew that had a prison ministry, and he goes, hey, because that's how he would talk. Hey, what's going on? He goes, I was just praying. He used to do these Tuesday night prayer sessions. Hey, I was just praying, and the Lord put you on my heart, something heavy. There's something going on. You need help. You need help. And I just told him everything that happened. And he actually used to do construction for a living. Well, his brother did. And when he got out of prison, because he was a prison minister, he got saved in prison. He worked for his brother. And he goes, I'll be there in the morning. And when he got there, he just performed one miracle after another miracle after another miracle after another miracle. So we actually got construction workers in there to do the job. And somehow my banker, against all odds, said, yeah, I'll bankroll it. I'll pay for the build out, and you just pay me back. And it was a nice big chunk, but he even made provision for that. So anyways, here's the testimony. So the testimony goes that there's a subcontractor that comes in to do a job, and he doesn't do the job properly. Now, the contractors that are waiting for him to finish his job, that are coming after him, they can't come in and do their job until he finishes his job. And he's telling me on the phone, screw you, I'm not going to do it. He already got paid, and the job was insufficient, and the other guys can't come, so the whole job's at a standstill. So now you got to understand, at this time it was like 1990. I want to say it was 1993, and I'm not a new Christian, but I'm not walking in any type of maturity or experience or anything at all. I'm brand new at this thing, I'm just kind of watching it work out. So in my mind, this is just another debacle. Everything's ruined, and I only got a couple of days to get this place open. Otherwise, I'm lost. I'll miss the season, and I won't make it in business. So Jim says to me, he goes, come on, let's get an ice cream. And I'm like, dude, what do you mean get an ice cream? I got a fire to put out here. He goes, come with me now. And he pulled me out of that place. And what the Lord showed me, what he was doing was, he was putting me in timeout. And we would go, and on the way to get the ice cream, we would just pray about the situation. And then we'd get the ice cream, and he would make me stay there for like a half an hour to an hour with him. And I'd be like, come on, Jim, we got to get back. I got to put this fire out. I got to figure out what to do. And he was like, no, let's just talk. And we would just talk about the word. He would share testimonies with me and encourage me. And then we'd go back. And when we got back, the thing was resolved. The guy that said he wasn't going to come, absolutely not, refused. That was it. Showed up, finished his job, and the other guys were on the job doing their job, and everything was flowing like normal. And then another time, another guy, he was, what was it? The electrician. The electrician was supposed to come out and finish out some of his job. And the way they do it is they'll put up like one side of the wall. You got two sides. Sheetrock is on both sides. They'll put up one side of the wall, and the electrician will come in and do all his stuff, and then they'll put up the sheetrock on the other side. They'll start the taping and floating and do the finish out. Well, we were getting ready to paint, and the electrician didn't come and finish his job, and he wasn't going to be able to come because he had another job he was going to. And the drywall guy's like, dude, if he doesn't come here and finish this morning in like an hour, I'm going to take my guys and I'm going to send them on another job, and I won't be able to come back for a couple of days, which would have messed up the whole job. We wouldn't have made it open on time. We got to be open by a certain date. And I'm just freaking out. And the electrician's just like, no, I've made a commitment on this other job. I've got to be there. I won't be there till tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. No. So Jim goes, come on, let's go get an ice cream. Like, dude, no, I'm not going to get an ice cream. I've got to take care of the situation. Come with me. Let's get an ice cream. And on the way there, we start praying about the matter. We get there, and he makes me hang out with him for an hour. And again, God showed me later, he was putting me in timeout, getting me out of that situation, because I couldn't control my tongue. At that time, I didn't know how. And he didn't want me to speak negatively over it. And no matter when I would try and divert or change the subject matter back to the situation, he would change it on me. He would give me a testimony. He would share the word with me. He would open his Bible. And this happened about 4 or 5 times. And that time, incidentally, when we got back, the electrician had a guy that had called in sick that day that suddenly felt better, that showed up, and he said, oh, hey, why don't you go over there to that place and finish out that job? And he had gotten there and finished the whole thing, and the sheetrockers were already there putting the sheetrock up, and the guys were taping and floating. And all of this, by the time I got back, was all being done. And it wasn't going to be done. And this happened about 4 or 5 times. And then finally, and I tell the story that when we were all done and ready to open, and the daycare guy came in and he said, man, you guys passed. You're ready to open on Monday. It was Friday. He said, let me see the fire marshal certificate and I'll sign off on it. And I was like, oh, crud. In the mix of all of it, I forgot to get the fire marshal to come down and inspect the system. It was a brand new system, worked flawlessly. We spent like $10,000 on it, but it's got to be tested and certified by the fire marshal. And he said, oh, if you don't have that, then you can't open. You can't open. Make sure you're not open on Monday. I'll be here on Monday. If you guys are open, I'll have the sheriffs come and padlock you because you do not have a license to open. So Monday, that afternoon, when he left, I called the fire marshal and I said, hey, I need you guys to come out and do an inspection. I know it's last minute. Is there an expedited rate? What can I pay extra? And he just kind of laughed at me. He goes, look, the first opening I have is June 21st. And I needed it to be open June 1st. So that's 3 weeks from now. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me. I've got a brand new business. And I kind of ran it down to him and he just laughed at me and hung up. He just hung up. I'm on the schedule for June 21st. That's it. He wasn't even going to talk about it. It wasn't even up for discussion. And so I remember telling Angela, and she just wept. She just cried because you don't have any idea the stuff we came through. I mean, I've condensed this story. This could be like a 2-hour story if I were to describe everything that we went through just to make it to this place so that we could be open. Every miracle that happened, every trial that came up, every explosion that got resolved by God, and she just, it was just her and I. Everybody had gone home for the night because the job was done. And it was her and I, and she just cried. And I remember Jim had gone. He wasn't there anymore. And all I remembered was all the times he took me to get ice cream and we prayed about stuff. And when I got back, they were all resolved. And I remember he used to say, the sower sows the word. And I remember kneeling down next to her going, Father, I don't know what word to sow because I don't know your word yet. All I know is I can't imagine that you would have brought me through all that to leave me here right now. And because I don't know what to say, I don't know what to ask, I don't know how to pray, all I'm saying is help. Help me. Please help me. That was my prayer. Help. That was it. People say, are there fancy prayers or words that you say? Help. That's all I said. And Monday comes. And we're open for business. I had my employees come. I'm just bold like that. Cause I remember my one employee who was supposed to open. She was like, "Didn't the daycare guy say he was going to close this down?" I said, "Honey, you be there. You be open at 6." So she was open at 6, and people were coming in. Customers were coming in. Now that place was safe. It was fabulous. The whole government licensing thing is a disaster. Socialism. And he doesn't show up on Monday at all. And Tuesday he don't show up. And Wednesday he don't show up. And Thursday he don't show up. And then Thursday around noon, the fire marshal comes in. And I go, what are you doing here? I thought I wasn't scheduled till the 21st. And he goes, you know, it's the strangest thing. And I thought, really? And he goes, I was right next door about to do an inspection, and they weren't ready. They weren't ready for us. You know, they got red tagged or something like that by the county. So I had time to kill, and I remembered you, and you're right next door. I just walked over here. So let's do the inspection. So he does the inspection. Now I have double doors, one for those people entering and one for those people coming in and going out. So we're standing there in the foyer right next to the doors, and he hands me the certificate, and he walks out. And as he walks out, that other guy, Wally, the daycare guy, comes walking in at the exact same time. They pass each other, and he looks at me, and he looked at the guy who was walking out the door, and he looks at me and he goes, was that the fire marshal? And I took the certificate from the one guy. I took it in my right hand, I put it in my left hand, and I handed it to Wally, just like that. It was like, just like that. And he just scratched his head, and he says, you know, whatever, fine, okay, fine. And he signed off on it, gave me my certificate, and he was about to leave. And I said, wait a second, Wally. Let me ask you a question. I said, because I just got to know. You said you were coming on Monday. You didn't show up. What happened? And he said, you know, the strangest thing. Oh, I love it when people say that. He said, I got a phone call at midnight on Sunday night. My mother had a heart attack. So I had to make a red-eye flight out at like 5 in the morning to go home to take care of her. And I swung by the office and left a post-it notepad on my assistant's desk. On her monitor, it said, go to KidFit first thing in the morning. Go there first thing. They're not supposed to be open. If they're open, have them shut down. And he was about to leave, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. Because that didn't set right with me. God wouldn't put a heart attack on somebody. That didn't make any sense. So I said, wait a minute, hold on. What happened? And he goes, you know, it's the darndest thing. He goes, me and my family, my brothers, he goes, I have 3 brothers and a sister. He goes, and we've all been estranged. None of us have talked with each other in almost 20 years. There was a rift in the family, and we all just like, none of us even talk. And none of us talked to our mother. I don't know what happened. I don't remember. I don't think he told me. I think it was more personal. And he said, so when I got there, all my brothers and my sister was there. And he goes, and while we were in the waiting room, we all just started to talk. And he goes, we all just made up. We buried the hatchet, put it all behind us. We're hugging, and everybody was crying. He goes, and it ended up being really nice. And I ended up staying for 4 days. And I said, and your mother? He goes, oh, it was angina. It was nothing but indigestion. She had a bout of indigestion. It was like heartburn. It was nothing. And I was like, oh man, God is so good. So God used that event to repair his family while giving me a miracle. But the whole point was, he showed me, was to remove me from the situation so I couldn't curse it with my words. He kept removing me from the situation until I learned to keep my mouth shut about things. So anyways, I just wanted to share that, and I'll let y'all go. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.